Good morning, welcome back to In the Garden. Paul and Taft here, and actually today we're not quite in the garden, we're in the yard, and this is something during the summertime very few people really want to do, especially during the afternoon, is lawn care.
You got that right.
Yeah.
Now again, back in May, people had a problem because we had so much rain that there was no opportune moment to go out there and mow. So now the rains have subsided somewhat and the heat's on, so Bermuda especially is really taken off, and the fescues are still doing fine. But the summertime, you want to kind of rethink some of your practices. Most importantly, your watering practices.
Okay.
What you want to do this time of year is really deep soak. So you mentioned you had an automatic sprinkler a moment ago. A lot of times those are set to run 10, 15 minutes. The water perks about that deep in the soil, okay? So what happens is, that's where the roots are gonna hover. So then when the heat really does come on, the grass isn't prepared, and during periods of drought, it's really gonna be stressed. If you'll switch to deep soaking, maybe once, twice a week, but really let that run. Now watch for waste, runoff, and that sort of thing. But if you encourage that water to percolate 4 or 6 inches down, that's where the roots are gonna grow. So that's what you want to try and do, is deep soak each time you water.
So that makes perfect sense if the root structure is just below the surface and then it doesn't get watered for 4 or 5 days and you get this kind of intense heat. That's why your grass starts to brown really quickly.
Right. Now Bermuda will brown, it's called heat-induced dormancy.
Okay.
Even with rains, when ambient air temps get really hot, it'll start to brown a little bit, but it always recovers.
Okay.
It's pretty hard to kill Bermuda,
Yeah.
as anyone who's grown it knows. So the other consideration is mowing height.
Okay.
I like to encourage people to increase the height of the mowing deck at least 1 notch, if not 2 this time of year. Now it'll take a little getting used to, I'll admit. But again, when you have a taller leaf blade, essentially the height of the leaf blade is proportionate to the depth of the root. So if you have a taller leaf blade and you water well, you're going to get deeper roots.
Okay.
It also, a taller leaf blade will shade that soil a little bit so you don't have as many evaporative losses. Keeps it a little bit cooler. You don't want to eliminate more than about 1/3 of the top growth each time you mow.
Okay.
Any more than that and you'll stress the grass. And it's already about time where it's going to be under stress anyway because of heat and lack of moisture. So do that. If you use a recycling mower, then a mulching mower, then you'll get some nutrient value back in there from those grass clippings. It does not cause thatch, by the way. And that brings me to yet the third consideration, fertilizer. Now's not the time to fertilize.
Okay.
You know, turf grasses are just wanting to kind of grow at their normal rate, maybe even slow down a little bit when it gets really hot. So throwing fertilizer on it kind of backfires. It encourages it to grow rapidly at a time when it wants to chill.
And we're talking about mowing, and a lot of times in the summertime, in the mornings, not too bad, a lot of dew out there. And a lot of people think before the sun really gets going, I want to get out there and mow. Probably not the best thing to do.
No, cutting wet grass is not a good idea. It doesn't cut that well. You'll create some ruts. So yeah, it's better to go ahead and let it dry. Sunshine helps, wind sometimes helps even more. If you have a windier morning, then it'll dry a little bit quicker. But yeah, I know, you just got to resist that temptation to do it. My wife, she gets upset because when I raise the height of the mower, the grass is taller. Well, she has Tootsie Roll Patrol here with all our dogs. So speaking of dew, I mean, it makes it a little harder for her to do the pickup,
Yeah, I understand.
But, that's her problem, not mine. I can't do it. I gag so badly that I can't even get near it. I get sick. Another reason, by the way, that you want to go ahead and just, still mow routinely is so that if any weeds are forming and setting seed, crabgrass is a great example, you want to get out there and mow before it has a chance to set seed. So that way you won't have that problem of, more and more weeds as time goes on.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. And obviously this is one thing with our lawn care. We don't like doing it, but there's just some simple tips that we can do to make sure that the lawn's going to stay in as good a shape and as healthy as it's going to be through the summer and all this heat.
Yeah, and later in the year we'll talk about fertilizer. As we get toward fall, weed control, fertilizer, and some other things. Right now, just stay on top of the mowing and water well.
Water well. And I just saw Buster walking over here with us. He's checking it out.
Yeah, he's about to water.
Uh-oh.